Hi guys, welcome back. This might look a little new to you because this is my new setup. How cool. So if you want to watch me fill my bookshelves, my new exciting, amazing, fantastic bookshelves that I'm so happy to have, go watch my last vlog. That will hopefully be up before this video is up. But I've been wanting bookshelves to put all my books on for such a long time now, and I'm so glad I have them because look how beautiful they look. I've got my romance books over here, we've got some lipstick down here as well, and then I've got my fantasy and some not true crime, definitely not true crime, some thrillers and mysteries, I guess you could say, down the bottom there. So yeah, welcome. Today's video is actually not about books at all, but I thought this would be a nice backdrop. We're actually going to talk about my favourite movies of all time. Another Australian YouTube girly, Sarah Elise. I'll put her video in the bio, I guess, in the description. Not the bio, the description down below. So if you guys want to check out her video, she has some really good movie recommendations. And as much as I love books, I also love movies. So I thought I'd give you guys a list of my top movies that I love. And she did top 10, but you know me, I can never stick to rules. So I'm just gonna do a list and I'm gonna talk about them. And I also have some honorable mentions, which we'll get into at the end as well. So let's get comfy, grab yourself a beverage, and let's get into it. I have a tea today, which I'm very excited about, and I felt a little blue theme, so that's why we've got my blue mug. It's actually really hot at the moment. Now, I haven't put these into categories. I haven't really done anything with them. I'm just gonna go through and tell you why they're my favorite movies. So the first one is Love and Other Drugs, and I think this is such an underrated romantic comedy because it's funny, it has heart, it has Jake Gyllenhaal in it, and he actually acts really well in this movie. And you can't go past an Anne Hathaway movie. Like, Anne Hathaway is amazing in everything that she's in, but this one she is particularly good in. So it basically follows a guy who's in pharmaceutical sales, and his job is to try to climb up the ladder, I guess, in his company that he is in, and to sell the most pharmaceuticals. And he meets a girl who also has Parkinson's, I believe. Yeah, Parkinson's. She relies on the medication that he sells. So it's basically just about him kind of realizing the people behind who he's selling to and how it isn't all glamorous, and there's just a lot of heart in this movie. It will make you cry, but I promise it's in a good way, and I just love it. I think if you haven't seen it, you're obviously living under a rock and you need to probably address that first, but then you should watch the movie because I feel like you'll really love it. The second movie / set of movies that I want to talk about, I know this is breaking the rules a little bit, but it's a trilogy of movies and it's called the After Trilogy. And no, I'm not talking about the Wattpad fanfic After situation. I'm talking about, oh my god, why did I say after? It's the Before Trilogy, not the After Trilogy. That is so funny. No, it's the Before Trilogy. So it's before, hang on a sec. I'm already doing so bad at this. It's fine though. It's before sunrise, before sunset, and before midnight. So basically it starts with before sunrise, and each movie is set and filmed 9 years after the predecessing movie. Predecessing? The previous movie. I don't know why I try to be smart. Anyway, before sunrise first, and then 9 years later, before sunset was filmed, and then 9 years later, before midnight was filmed. And it was also set 9 years later as well. So not only was it filmed like physically in real life 9 years later, the actual movie itself is set 9 years later into the two main characters' life. So you kind of follow them through, what's that, 9, 18, 27 years worth of their life. It is the most real, raw set of movies that I've ever watched in my life. It's basically about a man and a woman who meet in Vienna. The woman, Celine, she is French, and then the man is American. They basically decide to spend a night together in Vienna and get to know each other because they feel like an instant connection, but they both have all of this baggage, and not even baggage, but they've got lives outside of that night, and they feel like at the end of the night it would be quite silly to continue their relationship because they've just met each other. It just shows humanity and time passing by, just the realness of life. I'm not going to say there's no happy ending, because it's not really about that. It's about what life throws at you and how that can change who you are as a person and who you are in relationships as well. It's just so good, okay? And it's got Ethan Hawke in it, and he is amazing, and they've just got so much chemistry, and it's not staged at all. I think that's what makes it such a special movie. And a set of movies, they don't feel staged, they just feel like life happening and you are just watching life. So definitely watch those ones if you haven't yet. They're a bit niche, but they are so good. The next movie I want to talk about is 500 Days of Summer, and this has been one of my favorite movies for such a long time. It basically is I kind of sense a theme here with the movies that I enjoy. They're really real and raw, and they don't try to romanticize life, which is so funny because I am such a romance girly, but I like a movie that just feels real, if that makes sense. So it's basically about, again, a man and a woman who meet, and you go through the difference in their perceptions of how the relationship's going and moving through. It's just so interesting because it kind of touches on a lot of different tropes that you would usually see in a romance movie, but it's pulling them apart and I guess demystifying them. It's just shot so well. The soundtrack is amazing. It's one of those soundtracks that I had downloaded on my phone when I first got a phone that you could download music on, and I would just play it over and over on repeat. It's just perfect. It's a movie that's making fun of romance movies, I feel, but it's just amazing, and it's like unlike anything else I've ever seen before. So if you haven't watched that, and it also has Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it, and he is amazing, and Zooey Deschanel, who is just perfect. They're the perfect, I guess, couple, or not the perfect couple, but like they were cast. They're the perfect casting for what the movie is trying to portray, and it's just so good. I really need to rewatch it because I haven't seen it in such a long time, but it's definitely up there with one of my favorite movies. The next is a classic. It's He's Just Not That Into You. If we're talking about classic rom-coms, that is one of my favorite, and the reason it's one of my favorite is because it is a certain sub-genre of rom-coms, and they just get me every time. It's the subgenre where there's all of these interconnected storylines that are going on at the same time that lead you to an ending where everything is kind of revealed and you kind of understand why things were so connected, or like why this person knew this person, or why they were talking about that thing with that person. It's just so good. A couple of other movies that are like that are things like Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. Even things like Love Actually is like that to a certain extent. You get all of these different characters and they're all in their own individual storylines, but then they have that interconnectedness towards the end of the movie, and it just wraps everything up in nice little bows, and I love that. So that's definitely up there with one of my favorite movies. The next one is a little bit embarrassing, but we're going to talk about it anyway. It is Tomorrow When the War Began, and I love this movie. I love anything that highlights Australian culture and the Australian landscape, if you will. And I just love that movie. It's just so good. It has like actors that you would have known from Neighbours and Home and Away. Yeah, Home and Away, all of those silly little shows you'd watch with your parents when you were like 10 years old. It's just great. And then the soundtrack is good too, and it's just a bit of a coming of age movie. It's based on a book as well. That's also quite good, so that's why I like it. You should definitely watch it. The next one is very different. It's actually more of a recent movie. It's called Past Lives. I love this movie. I didn't know much about it when I first watched it. It's basically about two childhood friends who grow apart and spend a lot of time apart, and then they reconnect after a period of time, and it's like that they never left. And when they meet up again, they are kind of forced to confront the feelings they have about each other that they never really got to explore. However, they've both moved on with their lives because it has been so long. So it's about them just kind of exploring that, and it's all in Korean as well, apart from a few sections that are in English. So it's just a really, really good movie. It has so much heart, so many points in the movie that make you just reflect and think on the message behind the movie. And it's a movie that I think about so often after I'd watched it. And I feel like that is a sign of a good movie if you are constantly thinking about it and remembering little bits and trying to like, I don't know, understand it a little bit more after you've seen the movie. That is definitely one of those movies that I wouldn't change a single thing about it. It was just so, so good. And it was a beautiful movie as well. And I feel like when it is shot really well, that definitely helps. Same with 500 Days of Summer. Like they're just shot really, really beautifully and intentionally. And I think that just makes a huge difference in, I don't know, how you perceive the movie, I guess. The next one is Edge of 17. And I don't even know what it is about this movie. I think it's just the whole coming of age thing. It's basically about a girl and she's going through, I guess, life as a late teenager and all of the thoughts and feelings and angst that you get when you are growing up and discovering who you are and maybe growing apart from the people that you were once close to, or yeah, I don't know. It's just about self-discovery and it's just a great movie. What can I say? It's got Woody Allen in it and he is amazing. Really love him. I think he's Woody Allen. Wow, it'd be really embarrassing if it was not Woody Allen. Woody Allen. Okay, can confirm, not Woody Allen. What is this guy's name? Oh my god. He's Hamish from the Hunger Games. Woody Harrelson. They sound very similar. Anyway, don't come for me. Woody Harrelson and he is Hamish from the Hunger Games and it is a very good movie. That's all I have to say. It's so, so, so good. The next one is Into the Wild, and this may seem a bit rogue and a bit random, but this movie is all vibes, no plot. Like some of the best books are. And it has such a good soundtrack. It's got a full soundtrack by Eddie Vedder, who is one of the band members of Pearl Jam. And it's just such a good movie. It's just about a guy who has everything going for him. He's white, he has money, he has just graduated from university, I believe, and he decides that he wants to live off the land and live life out on the road and I guess fuck society, essentially. And this movie is so beautiful, the soundtrack is great, and it just has like a feeling, like it gives you a feeling inside that is indescribable unless you watch it. So that is definitely a great recommendation from me. It probably won't make you feel happy, but it will make you feel something. And sometimes all we want is just to feel a little something. The next one is Little Women. Again, this movie made me cry so many times. It is a masterpiece. It is definitely made for the girlies. It's about a family of sisters who are all very, very different and they all have different goals and wants and dreams in life. And it's just following them through their lives and how they're so different. It definitely just makes you feel like in a world, this is gonna sound really awful, but in a world of the patriarchy, it just makes you feel a little bit more heard and a little bit more seen. And like, it is okay if you wanna stay at home and bake bread and paint and play the piano. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to go out there and be a boss bitch every day. Everyone is different and everyone has different dreams. So I just love it. And again, it was shot so beautifully as well. It has a little Timothée Chalamet, if that is to your liking. And yeah, it's just a good movie. I feel like anything that Greta Gerwig produces, does she produce it? Directs. Oh my gosh. I feel like anything that Greta Gerwig directs is just definitely up there with my favorite movies. She's just so talented and I guess knows how to make movies that make you feel something and thought-provoking movies that address things in different ways that you're not used to seeing visually, or aren't, I guess, the common perception of things. I don't know if I'm talking in circles, but she's just different, I think, to a lot of other directors out there, and I just really appreciate what she does with her movies. The next movie is a horror movie, and that movie is Scream, the original Scream. And I love this movie. As someone who grew up watching a lot of horror movies, this one is just so fun to me because it almost pokes fun at the horror trope in movies, like the slasher trope, I should say. And it's funny, it's based around teenagers, it's got that 90s feel to it that's just so good. It's just a great movie. And if you want a good horror movie that's not super scary, but also like has a lot of really good stars in it and has a good storyline, then that is definitely the movie for you. If you want something that's a little bit scarier than that, I am known for loving a zombie movie, and 28 Days Later is one of those movies. It's just so good. There's two movies in the duology, if you will. There's 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, and they're both, I would say, arguably as good as each other. Essentially, they follow a world in which there's a virus that infects people and gives them rage and makes them very aggressive, and it's a virus because I guess it's contracted through blood. So when they bite people, then that person becomes enraged as well. And they're just good movies. I don't know how many times I have to say they're just good movies. They just are. Trust me on it. They're good movies. You should watch them. I feel like most people would like them if you like scary movies. But I do love recommendations. So if you have any other zombie post-apocalyptic recommendation, please let me know. So my honorable mentions category is basically the movies that I don't feel like are good enough to be in my top movies of all time, because maybe they're a bit embarrassing and maybe they're not the best movies ever made, but they are the best movies to me. And maybe they're just movies that I watch time and time again every year because they're comfort movies for me and they just make me feel good. And the first one in that category is Twilight. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking objectively this is not a good movie, and I would agree with you there. But if it's winter, I will be watching Twilight. I don't really care what you have to say. It just has the most immaculate winter vibes. It is so bad that it's good, and it's nostalgic, and it makes me feel good, so get off my case. The second one, and this kind of goes hand in hand, is the Hunger Games series. I love this series. I feel like it's so nostalgic. I read the books when I was growing up. They're just good movies, okay? And don't hate me for it. I just like them. There's nothing wrong with liking things that other people don't like. It's fine. And then the last honorable mention that I wanted to talk about is actually I have two. One I didn't write down, but I was thinking of it as I was filming this video. And the first one is Sweet Home Alabama, which is a romantic comedy with Reese Witherspoon and Matthew McConaughey. Hey? I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Anyway, that's irrelevant. It is basically about a girl who grew up in the country and she moved to the city, and she has to come back to get her previous husband to sign the divorce papers so that they can move on. It's just like a love story, and it's very cute, and they just discover a lot about themselves, and I don't want to give too much away, but Reese Witherspoon is another person who is just great in everything, and I will watch everything that she's in. So yeah, you should watch it. And the last one, I actually watched it recently, and I can't remember what it's called, which is annoying. It's a Nicholas Sparks movie. It's not The Best of Me. What is it called? It's not The Lucky... Safe Haven. Safe Haven is such a good movie. It's like a little bit of a thriller, a little bit of a romance, a little bit of a what's going on here. It is so good, and the male main character, the love interest, is not cringy at all, which I can find sometimes in Nicholas Sparks movies. The male main character is a bit cringy, but he's not in this one. He is just good. Actually, there's another Nicholas Sparks one that I also really liked that I watched recently with a friend. I can't remember what it's called, but it was so sad. Wasn't The Best of Me, I don't think, or was it? Oh my god, it was The Best of Me. My friend and I literally watched this movie, and I don't think there was a moment we weren't crying. Like, it was so sad. It's just like a typical Nicholas Sparks movie, but it just made you feel right in the feels for the whole thing. So if you want to cry, that's my recommendation. My honorable mention, if you want to cry, is The Best of Me by Nicholas Sparks. They are all the videos, oh my god, the movies that make my top movie list and my honorable mentions. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoy any of the movies that I mentioned, please let me know in the comments below. And if you have any recommendations based on my movie preferences, please let me know, because I love hearing from you guys and I love chatting to you in the comments. So have a great day, guys, and I'll see you for the next video. Bye!